introverts and extroverts and every combination in between, welcome. First, I'd like to confirm to you all that I am in fact an introvert by definition. So define an introvert: a shy, reticent person. Don't you just love when a definition requires you to look up another definition of a word? Reticent, not revealing one's thoughts or feelings readily. And it gives the example, I'm an introvert and don't like public speaking.
Too many people.
This is actually like really accurate to me. I hate public speaking. I don't like introducing myself to more than one person at a time. I never volunteered to be like a speaker in class. Now let's make sure I'm not entirely an extrovert. So an extrovert is an outgoing, overtly expressive person.
I talk to everybody.
Now, of course, I understand that being an introvert or extrovert isn't always binary. You can be an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert and everything in between. And so I would say I'm 75% introverted and 25% extroverted. So let's get on with the perks. There are a lot of them, so I'm going to stick with 4 main ones. The first one being better awareness means you're a better listener and ultimately a better learner. I didn't realize I was a very aware person until I started hearing it from other people. I was always a shy girl, which may be hard to believe coming from someone who has been putting videos out on the internet for 2 years now.
I don't think anybody would believe this story.
But because I refrained from speaking as much as possible, I ultimately became a very observant person. From the beginning, I noticed in class I never wanted to speak, never wanted to raise my hand, never wanted to volunteer, to be the first one to present, because I really held back from standing out, and like standing out just was not important to me. It gave me more room to focus inward and to just look at what was going on around me. When someone else would speak, I would be actively listening, and this was a skill that I acquired at a very young age. Particularly in class, I didn't feel the need to raise my hand to prove that I knew the answer to things. That's not to say that I was like a straight A student. I was very average. So because I became an active listener, that led to me becoming an active learner. And just through listening to people or observing somebody, I could easily learn things and catch on to things a lot quicker. And again, that was something that I learned throughout my life through other people's feedback, is that I am a fast learner. And this is starting to sound like a self-hype video, but yeah, I became a very fast learner. And I think it's from doing less of this and doing more listening. Let's move on to perk number 2, which is introspection and creativity. This is one of my favorite things about being an introverted person. All throughout my life, I've tapped into my creative side in one form or another. At an early age, my parents, they loved capturing us. They would always have cameras around or camcorders, like the ones that you hold like this. When I was younger, I learned that I loved being behind the camera, and I loved taking photos, I loved taking videos, I loved capturing memories. And it wasn't even just for the sake of capturing memories, but it was like I got a satisfaction out of finding like a great shot and taking good pictures. I loved the little photography class that we had in high school. That was like one of my favorite classes. I heard I had an eye for capturing photos and videos. Naturally, that just made me want to be better at it. Later in life, this translated into drawing and storytelling and poetry and now video editing. I used to paint sneakers. If you look at the start of my channel, I actually started painting sneakers, and that's how I got into YouTube. Now creating videos and editing, filming and editing is my creative outlet, and it requires a lot of introversion and just spending time alone with yourself and your thoughts and just challenging the boundaries of your creativity. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this perk of being an introvert, is that you really get to explore this world within your mind, and you just get fueled translating that into your own outlets, whether that be video, painting, pottery, ceramics. Like there's so many creative outlets now, and I love seeing people just indulge in their element and just fuel themselves by doing these crafty, creative things. And yeah, of course, in order to do that, you have to enjoy being alone. Of course, you could do these types of things with people, but a lot of these things do require solitude and being able to work alone and enjoy it. Let me know if you agree, but I do find that introverts, many of which I know in my own life, tend to be more imaginative and have a richer inner world. It's just interesting to learn more about like what's going on in their minds, because they do spend so much time there. Moving on to independence. Throughout my life, I found I tend to think for myself. I think this and literally everything in this video comes from that tendency to be more introspective. You just spend more time alone with your thoughts and in turn making your own decisions. So because introverts Introverts tend to be more self-reliant. I think we develop a range of skills and abilities that allow us to continue to function independently. We're really comfortable working alone and being alone, unlike extroverts who are fueled by social interaction. And going back to school, I personally hated group projects or working with partners.
Work together? Sorry, I don't exactly play well with others.
Because I always felt like I just wanted to take over. I just wanted to use my own creativity and just really pour myself into it, just allow my creativity to flow. And maybe that has something to do with my perfectionism. But yeah, I found I was just more productive doing things by myself, and I find that in general, I like to do things by myself. Of course, with my partner and like everyday things, like I've grown to become more of a team in everyday life, but there are so many things that I still do love to do by myself because it fuels me to do things alone. Now let's go into how having these introspective qualities can lead to more meaningful relationships. So tying back to being a better listener, I think that this quality has ultimately led to stronger relationships in general. So we've all had conversations with people who just want to talk about themselves, and you kind of get this feeling because when you start talking to them, you give them the space to speak. And then when it's your time to respond to what they had just said, they'll cut you off and start talking about something completely different. I think this happens to everybody, but you just kind of feel like, wait, so you don't value what I'm about to say, or you just feel unheard, unseen, and that the conversation is more for their benefit than for the collective benefit. I think having productive and meaningful conversations is a two-way street, and you have to be able to listen just as well as you are able to communicate. Of course, if you're on the other side of the spectrum where all you do is listen and like you don't give any feedback, any of your perspective, the other person may feel the exact same way, where it's like, okay, I'm giving you all this energy, but I'm not getting anything back. There is so much power to having a great balance of both. And naturally, we feel this imbalance when we first converse with someone. And again, with introversion, I feel like you have a better awareness as to this exchange in energy. But yeah, I think ultimately being a good listener, it makes you a more empathetic person. It makes you a more trusting person. And overall, you're just a more pleasing person to speak with. Whether you learned something from this video that you didn't already know about yourself, or if you learned something new, I'm glad you just made it to this point in the video. And if you enjoy videos like these, please give it a thumbs up. It apparently helps a lot with the algorithm. And leave a comment down below for another topic you'd like to discuss if you want to learn more about the benefits or maybe even the downsides of being an extrovert. Leave it down below, and I'm excited to have more sit down talking videos like this, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!